What's up, guys? Welcome to episode 17 of the Jibs Podcast. I'm here with Drew Shantz, the founder and executive director of VentureSchool.
It's just about getting up and doing it and finding the time, finding the people and making it happen.
You take control and you say, okay, this needs to be done, and you do it.
And you're never ready to start a business. You just either do it or you don't.
Welcome to the Jibs Podcast, showcasing Detroit's movers and shakers, bringing you stories that reveal the gusto and grit that's long defined the city and its people. Together, we'll uncover the history and direction of the Motor City, one voice at a time. This is the Jibs Podcast with Jibran Ahmed.
How are you doing, man?
Doing well. Getting ready for a pop-up classroom, so.
Yeah, we should make time.
I know, kids are going to be running here in a second.
So tell me a little bit about yourself and then tell us about VentureSchool.
Okay, yeah, I guess I can kind of weave those two things in together. As far as myself goes, my passion is really creating unique learning environments for people to kind of engage in different types of learning, and that's been a passion ever since I was really little. I can remember when I was 7 or 8 years old filling up notebooks with like school floor plans and schedules and designs and lists of office supplies and stuff like that. So that was like my first nerding out moment when it came to school design. And then fast forward to middle school, I actually started to create programming for students in elementary school based off of experiences that I've had and I thought that I should share with other people. So started doing summer camps at like the age of 11, which I probably shouldn't have done in retrospect, but I think it turned out pretty well. That kind of fizzled a little bit. Did the whole high school, college thing. Throughout that process, really had these entrepreneurial drives within me to start something, to build things, but really didn't have the time, the space, or the support to do that. So that was always a frustration that I had, and something that led to the creation of VentureSchool, which is I like to tell people the high school that I always wanted to go to. So did some time out in DC working at some education nonprofits after undergrad, and then went through the Education Entrepreneurship Master's Program at Penn to actually take this idea of VentureSchool, put it down on paper, and once I finished that program, I didn't want it to stay on paper, so brought it to life here in Detroit, and we've been rocking and rolling for about 2 years now in the planning process, doing a lot of exciting things in the meantime before our doors open in 2019. We can certainly dive into some of that.
Yeah. Was there a moment or an experience that made you realize that you wanted to go on your own and start this venture?
I don't know that it was a moment. It was probably a collection of moments. Yeah. Kind of looking back at my previous experience and this desire from a young age to start a school. Mm-hmm. And then I think I was just at a point in my life where I'd been done with the 9-to-5 thing. I was done with that. Certainly had great experiences working in several really high profile organizations in DC, but it was just time for me to start something on my own and do it somewhere that, the entrepreneurial focus here in Detroit was kind of the key indicator that it needed to be here in Detroit. We have such a rich history of entrepreneurship, a real momentum building right now around entrepreneurial activity, but not necessarily in all parts of the city. And that's part of the reason why we're located here, is to bridge that gap between what's happening downtown, what's happening in the neighborhoods. And then the other factor was Detroit just really needs high quality high schools. So we want to give students, parents, the option to send their kid to a really unique, revolutionary new school model that's not only going to help them to develop their entrepreneurial thinking skills, but could have the power to transform communities at the same time.
Yeah. So I guess on that note, the Detroit public school system, has its problems and its challenges. So what are some of these issues that you're hoping to help alleviate or that you've faced so far?
Mm-hmm. So I think, this is probably a whole nother podcast to just talk about what the challenges that the education system as a whole has faced. It's not just Detroit public schools, it's the charter sector here as well. And we are opening as a charter school, so that's presented itself with some challenges and some narratives that we've had to combat when it comes to how to start a school right, and do that with a lot of community buy-in, a lot of piloting, proof of concept, that kind of thing, which we'll probably talk more about too. But some of the things we're trying to, put into the landscape is, I think, first of all, a small by design school. So this is a space that's not going to have 500 kids per class. We'll just have 60. And we really want to foster this intimate community that is relentlessly focused on the development of students and meeting them where they are, bringing them to where they want to go and where they need to be. And that we think can only be achieved through a small school design. And since we're a school that's helping students start startups, and we're a startup school, there's a lot of startup activity there, we want to function like a startup too. So we really want to find efficiencies in areas like finance, operations, facilities, and human capital so that we can channel more of that funding directly to the student experience rather than contributing to this big behemoth system that requires a lot of funds to be directed here, there, and elsewhere. And then I think the community-rooted aspect of our school is really unique too. We're trying to bring in as many voices, specifically in the entrepreneurial sector, but also just the doers of Detroit. We want them to inform our school model just as much as the parents and students that we've been working with. So we want this to be a reflection of Detroit. We want VentureSchool to flow through, or Detroit to flow through the veins of VentureSchool, and for this to be a shining jewel for the city to not only, like I said, not only help the students that we're working with, but to disseminate best practices across the system, to work with adults, empower community members to kind of adopt this entrepreneurial mindset, to apply to wherever they're going in life, and to just be an example of what excellence looks like in the city when it comes to education.
Yeah. I know that Venture has these different aspects, programming, pillars, I guess.
Yeah.
Can you explain those a little bit more?
Yeah, so that was a pretty recent shift. In the very beginning, we had VentureSchool, and we were kind of gung-ho on that. But then we realized that in order to kind of emulate the startup process, we needed to provide proof of concept first. So that's where Venture Labs stemmed from, and that's where we're sitting today, is the calm before the storm of a Venture Lab. And those are essentially pop-up classrooms where we test our curriculum, our instructional strategy, and interface with the community to ask questions like, is this the kind of school that you would want to send your child to? Is this the type of learning environment that your child's going to thrive in? Are students engaged? Are they interested? Do they get this kind of thing? Is it latching onto them? So we've been asking those questions for about a year as we've been diving into this process, and these labs will continue probably in perpetuity, even when the school is open, to, I think, primarily disseminate some of the best practices that we've developed within the school out to other communities that we're not necessarily working directly with. Because we have such a small student population, we wanted to find ways to share this kind of learning experience with other students across the city. So I think Venture Labs has a future in that vein. And then Venture Link is a new program that we're launching in 2018, the 2018-19 school year. And that's essentially going to be a school within a school pilot program for us. Venture Labs give us a really good opportunity to get a few hours in the life of a Venture School student. They're one-off kind of opportunities, so not too much continuation of learning. Unfortunately, we're dealing with a bunch of different student populations. We don't necessarily know who's going to be here from week to week, but at least we have the opportunity to get in front of a lot of students. Venture Link is going to be this opportunity where we can follow students for an entire school year and work with them for half a day every day of the school year, provide academic acceleration services, and then also really pilot with greater fidelity the model that we want to launch as a high school. And we'll be working with 8th grade students, so this will ideally be a pipeline for us as well. So these students are interfacing with us for an entire year, kind of developing relationships with our team, and I think that would be a really good incentive for them to come to VentureSchool when high school rolls around.
Yeah. So one thing I want to touch on is I used to work a little bit with the school system in the city. I worked for Excellent Schools Detroit, and we were trying to roll out this Enroll Detroit program. But our biggest challenge was this sense of skepticism, right? For years, people in the city have been disserviced by these new programs, basically being introduced but then failing their students. So how are you combating that, and have you faced that sense of skepticism, and what do you feel about that?
You know what, we haven't really run into that skepticism too much. Initially, sometimes we do, but then once we talk about the really slow and methodical approach that we're taking to designing our school and building it from the ground up with community support and buy-in, I think that's really helped alleviate some of those fears or that skepticism. We don't want to come in and pop up a school and just say, you know, here's what we think that you need. Here's the stuff that we've heard from other parts of the country that are working, and we're going to bring it here because it's worked elsewhere. We want it to be kind of a two-way street where we're bringing in these ideas for what excellence looks like, but then hearing from people who are actually going to be experiencing the delivery of that experience. Is this something that resonates with me? And like I said, we've been doing this for 2 years now, talking to people, a lot of talking, a lot of listening, and a lot of testing in these pop-up environments to gather information. So we hope that the combination of all of these things will kind of lead to the sustainability of the school and the programming that we have to offer.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. I think it's really great to hear you're coming from this human-centered design,
Right.
This point of view. So let's jump from this journey into more of your entrepreneurial journey. So just starting this organization, what kind of challenges and obstacles have you faced?
I think that the biggest one is funding. It's largely an unproven concept, so we've had trouble with big players in the space, in the philanthropic space, or just giving space to make an investment in what we were trying to do. And I get it. Like if I had a bunch of money and I had this little program coming to me with 40 pop-up classrooms under their belt, worked with a couple hundred students, like, yeah, that's good, but there's still risk there. So what we're trying to do is to get that one big initial yes, and I think others will follow after that. Someone recently told me, when it comes to funding these things, nobody wants to be first and nobody wants to be last. So we're really looking for that. We're really looking for that person to say yes, first of all, to just, fuel our efforts moving forward, give us some runway, and then I think others will kind of latch on. Because as of right now, it's been completely bootstrapped and small contributions from friends and family, which we really, really appreciate, and just supporters that we've met along the way. But in order for this to be a really robust and sustainable organization, we do need some greater access to capital to make that happen. So hopefully, fingers crossed, that'll happen soon. And I think another challenge has just been kind of collecting quality data around what we are trying to create. So we have this really unique hybrid academic and entrepreneurial curriculum. So all the core academics that you would learn in school, from biology to civics, have this entrepreneurial tie into it. And what we've been doing through the labs and what we'll be doing through VentureLink is to figure out a good way to measure that data and how to track student growth. And since we haven't had consistent attendance in our labs, I'm really hoping that VentureLink is an opportunity for us to gather that data and then share that data, which will probably help potential funders to give us some money to make this, to help us grow. So those are two big challenges. Some things that we anticipated being challenges that haven't been challenges are, working with working with community members. We thought that they might see us as, and by us I mean our founding head of school, Marvin, and myself, coming in with all these grand ideas, and to your point, we have no guarantee that this is going to be around for 20, 30 years, so why should we trust you to do this? And I think the process by which we have approached our work has helped us to mitigate that challenge, and also finding talent has not been as challenging as we thought it would be. There's a lot of talk about, and I'm talking specifically about teacher talent. We have a lot of folks who are approaching us, who've heard about our work, who are Detroit expats. They live elsewhere. They're teaching in these high-performing school networks on the East Coast, on the West Coast. They hear about our work and they say, we want to come work for you. We want to come do this, and we want to come back to Detroit, but only to work with you. Mm-hmm. So that presents a challenge because we don't have the capital to bring them out here and pay them. But we know that we know that our model is really compelling for educators because we're fundamentally rethinking the high school experience and they want to be a part of that. So that's been a nice kind of sigh of relief as we've reached our feelers out to see how we can grow our team and grow capacity on the human capital front.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure you've gotten this, I know I've gotten this, is we have a lot of our peers or colleagues that, they want to start something, mm-hmm. whether it's an organization, for profit, whatever, but they don't know where to start or how to start. Mm-hmm. What kind of advice would you have for somebody that wants to just start?
Build a website.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, that was the first thing for me to take VentureSchool from something in my head to something that's real. And I remember we built a pretty good website. Like, Squarespace is amazing. Yeah, like, you can make a professional quality. This is not a plug or anything. It's not an endorsement, but it is. It's an unpaid endorsement. We put together a really nice website that really laid out our vision, what we had, in plans for the school. And within a matter of weeks, I guess our SEO was also a lot better than I thought, but people were filling out the contact form saying, like, can I enroll my kid in this school? How can I be a part of this? The reason why we have Marvin on the team is because he found our website and he filled out the form and said, like, this looks interesting. I'd like to see if I can help out. So just having that, because it's an intangible thing, this is a school that's not yet built, to have that web presence was really important. And it seems kind of trivial, but it really helped us out. And I think, once you have your website, regardless of what you're starting, I think you have to start small and you have to go slow. There was a time when I just wanted VentureSchool open tomorrow. Like, let's just get this thing done. We'll figure everything out later, but we just need to get this thing open. But certainly not the approach to take for anything. I think it's all about gathering information from whether it's customers or stakeholders or users or whatever you want to call them, getting as much information as you possibly can about whether you are, because you don't want to be in the situation where you are a solution looking for a problem. You want to have that problem in mind and then create a solution with that information. So I think as much intel that you can get from people who you're actually going to be working with and serving is super important. And a good way to do that is through pop-ups, it's through pilots, it's through, I'm looking at our vocab words up there, minimum viable product, prototyping.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where the slow and methodical approach is certainly the right one to take, I think, for schools when you're dealing with the lives of students and their families and their futures. So to just open a school and think that you have all the answers without having done any pre-work is I think a really bad idea, and sets yourself up for failure. But if you have a startup school idea, I think our approach has been a good one.
Yeah, I appreciate the patience you have with the journey. I think a lot of people,
patient.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are really eager to. They want to get a huge first round of funding and just go.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think a lot of people just die when they try to go that fast. Mm-hmm. And I think that's really great to hear. So on that, you're doing a lot. You're doing these pop-ups, pilots, and you're trying to build a school. Like, that's
mm-hmm.
not an easy thing to do.
No.
So how do you personally stay motivated to keep doing this every single morning, every day?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
No, I do. But it's been tough. Like, I haven't paid myself in 2 years, and people ask me how I keep the lights on. Is I Airbnb my apartment. I'm a part of the sharing economy. I try to make a few dollars here and there. I'd done a little bit of freelance work, but I had to stop doing that because this just taking so much time and energy. So I try to. Whenever I think about when the going is tough, I just think about the students that are going to be walking across the stage for graduation in 2023. Like that's who we're doing it for. It's these 60 kids that are going to get this amazing, incredible high school experience. And it's because of the hard work that we're doing that's going to be possible for them. And those 60 students are going to change the world. They're going to have all of these tools. They're going to have all this know-how that no other high school student in America will really have. And they're going to be able to leave high school, go off to college, start their own business, do whatever they want, and do it with confidence. And I don't think that, and having that vision of what our graduate looks like is what keeps us going. Like that's it's giving me chills right now just to think about it, because we've always believed that high school students have more promise, power, and potential than we give them credit for, and that VentureSchool is an opportunity to really channel that and harness it, and help students to find their spark, set them off into the world, and see what kind of great things happen.
Yeah. I think that's amazing. So what kind of apps, what kind of softwares do you rely on for productivity or making sure you get your things done?
I've been recently I think it's called Focus Timer. I'm using the Pomodoro method to do the 25-5 thing. And that's really good when I have to crank stuff out. I have an app on my phone with a timer. We use Slack on our team to keep everyone organized and all conversations open and transparent to everybody who needs to see them. Rely on email a little bit too much. And Trello we use for project management. Not usually. I have a problem where I know that I need to stay organized in project management tools, but the work just gets ahead of me. So then I stop using it for a while, and then I'm like, oh, well, I have to get back into using this. And then I do it for a while, and then I stop. So not a perfect system. But yeah, I think that's pretty much what we run off of. And Google Drive, thank God for Google Drive.
Oh, absolutely.
Everything's there, and it's free. Well, kind of free. It's cheap.
Yeah.
So we like to stay on the cloud, keep everything ready for sharing. I think is really important for us, because when we have a document, when we have the curriculum we develop, we want that to be easily shareable and downloadable by other people. So it's all up there and out there because we want to share.
Yeah. Just a few more questions. What are you the most proud of?
I've been saying this a lot, but I'm proud of myself and our organization for going really slow and being really careful. Because when the need is so urgent and so pressing for transformational change in our school system, the tendency, as we've discussed, is to move really fast and make really quick change happen. But I think the fact that we've been able to pump the brakes a little bit and I would say enjoy the ride and kind of appreciate the process. I think I'm proud of our ability to do that and to listen more than we talk. I think that's been really crucial.
What to you makes Detroit so special?
I think the people here I was just talking about this with a friend, because I was traveling out west and came back, and every time I come back to Detroit, it's like this is a nice place to be. I think there's just a spirit of camaraderie, of togetherness in the city that you don't really find elsewhere, and this is said over and over again, but it's a city that's, I forget the exact term, how it's exactly said, but it's small enough where you can feel welcome and kind of big enough to have an impact on the rest of the country, the rest of the world. And it's just this, I mean, it's so unique in so many ways. The history is rich, the architecture is beautiful, Canada's right over there. Like, this is a wild place, and there's really cool things happening, and just really genuine, nice, driven, wonderful people to be around. Both the people who are new to Detroit and the people who have been here for a long time. I think no matter how long you've called yourself a Detroiter, as long as you can appreciate the things that the city has to offer and kind of put your energy and effort into making it better tomorrow than it was today, then I think, that's what I like about it. And I think everybody generally has. Most people have that mentality.
Yeah, I really like that. That's a good answer. For people listening, for people watching, where can they find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, on Wednesdays, you can find me right here at our pop-up classrooms, but our website is www.venture.school. On Twitter, we're venture2learn. Facebook is just VentureSchool, and Instagram is the VentureSchool. We couldn't get a consistent one, so they're various forms, but venture.school is a great place to start.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you sharing your insights and your story.
Thank you for your time.
Absolutely. And until next time, guys, stay tuned.
Cool.
All right. Thanks, bro.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. This is fun.
Yeah.